Last time, King Cold and Banyu went and trained with the Kais and Supreme Kais before eventually searching space for a planet to test their project of terraforming planets on. However, as a brief side note, this part might be shorter than the last one, since I was using this part to fill in the last 3 months before Battle of Gods happens. Also, there was something I forgot to mention in the last part that I think would have happened before King Cold left the Earth after Buu was defeated. He likely would have been on Earth for a couple days before he left, and he would have seen the things Gohan and Videl were doing when trying to be heroes as the Great Saiyaman 1 and Great Saiyaman 2. So, seeing them trying to be heroes like this would give him an idea that he would propose to Gohan and Videl one day. When he goes to them, he talks with them for a little bit just to catch up on how things are going. Though, he eventually gets to the point and suggests that Gohan and Videl should join the Galactic Patrol. He would say he knew about the superhero things they were trying to do, and that this could be a way he gets to further that passion. Also, not only could this appeal to his and Videl's hero side, but it could also appeal to Gohan's scholar side in some ways, which Cold would bring this up, saying that Gohan would not only be able to help people around the universe, but he could also learn about other planets and the alien species on them, and then study them. He could also still do his studies on Ki if he wanted to while he was in space. He might even be able to combine the two studies, since he could talk about how different alien species make use of Ki as well. So, I think Gohan and Videl would agree to this and Cold would teleport them to the Galactic Patrol. After being introduced to the Galactic King, I don't think he would turn this suggestion down, since he could see it as useful to have someone as strong as them in the Galactic Patrol. So, King Cold leaves them with the Galactic Patrol while he teleports back to the Earth and has Goku bring him to the Kai, like he did in the last part. Also, years later after getting his potential unlocked by the old Kai, he could see that as something useful to Gohan and Videl, so he might bring them to the Sacred World of the Kai to get their potential unlocked too. Anyway, this is finally where I can begin from where the story left off last time. As Cold and Banyu approach Vampa, they would get the signal on their ship from a distress call, which, this is odd, since they thought this planet was deserted of sentient life, but they still land on Vampa, nonetheless. When they land, a scene like the one in the Broly movie of Paragus running towards the landing ship would happen. When he sees it as King Cold, however, he's much more cordial, since he didn't know what had happened to the Saiyans yet. After talking for a little bit, Paragus would call in Broly, which is when King Cold might be a little impressed by his strength, especially with him getting this strong on a hostile planet like Vampa. Regardless, he allows them on their ship and gets some new armor immediately, though, when talking to Paragus, the old Saiyan eventually reveals that he wants revenge on Prince Vegeta, so King Cold would fill him in on a lot of things. He would tell him about how Planet Vegeta was destroyed and about how Cold himself eventually turned over a new leaf. However, the major thing he wouldn't leave out, unlike Frieza, is that Prince Vegeta turned over a new leaf too and is good now. Since Cold no longer has the motive of wanting to get rid of the Saiyans like Frieza did, he has no reason to hide this information. He would also point out to Paragus that trying to get revenge on someone who was just an infant at the time Broly was exiled, which means they had no choice in the matter, is a foolish idea. Paragus would, at first, be shocked to hear all of this about Prince Vegeta turning good, though he would understand the logic behind Cold's words, though it would take time to get over his plan of revenge. So, even though Cold promised to introduce Goku to strong fighters when he finds any, he's going to hold off on introducing them to Goku and Vegeta at first, at least until Paragus finally gets over this whole revenge thing. Cold will also likely ask Paragus about the collar around Broly's neck, which when it is explained to him, I think Cold would order it to be removed. He doesn't see the use in something cruel like that anymore, as he wants all his men to be treated fairly. Paragus might be reluctant to do this, but Cold will tell him if Broly gets out of hand, Cold should be able to handle him in a fight. So, reluctantly, Paragus will remove the collar, which Cold then has it and the remote for it destroyed. Anyway, Cold would explain to them why they came to Vampa, and that they plan to terraform it to be habitable. He would also tell them that they don't have to be part of Cold's forces if they don't want to, but the resources of the Empire can be useful for them to use if they decide to return to Vampa. Regardless, this process of making Vampa habitable would take some time. Since it's a desert-like planet, there are many things that would have to be done to make it that way. The temperature would obviously need to be lowered for there to be plants and liquid water, though the atmosphere might need to be changed somewhat, but not a lot, since it's apparently breathable to humanoid creatures like Saiyans. Now, it's hard to say how long something like this would take, but after using the technology he and Capsule Corporation came up with to terraform planets, the atmosphere would eventually be good for better life, and they'd have water. Since Cold can't develop life, however, there's two things he could do to try and get plants onto the planet. He would either introduce plants from other planets, or he could get the Supreme Kai's help in developing plant and animal life specifically for Vampa, which, since their job was to develop life anyway, I believe that is the option he would do. So, he would get in contact with the Supreme Kais and ask them for help with this. We don't really know how they'd create life or how long it takes, but since they are godly beings, I don't think it would take too long. So, as a time frame, I think they might be able to change Vampa into being a fruitful and habitable world within a month or two. Now that the planet is fruitful and habitable, Broly and Paragus might still live there like we seen Broly return there at the end of his movie. Though, as thanks, I believe they would stay part of Cold's forces. So, when he needed their permissions or anything, they would go with him, but when they aren't needed, they would probably be back at their newly reformed home. Regardless, after all of this, Cold would return to Earth and tell Bulma how this process of making the planet suitable for life went. Any potential mishaps he noticed with the technology he would inform Bulma and his scientists about so that they could improve it. However, while there, he might talk to Bulma about another idea he had. He already went to planet Metamore, so his men know the fusion dance, but it still has the limitation of people having to be of similar size and power. Since they haven't used the Batara before, he doesn't know of a way, for example, that he and Banyu would be able to fuse, which, because of this, he might get Bulma's help in making a way that anyone could fuse if they wanted to. So, we might end up seeing the Matano ring that was created by Bulma and Dragon Ball Fusions be created in this timeline. Though, it would take a little bit of time for that to be created, and it would likely have to go through a lot of testing before it could be completed. So, while that is being done, Cold might go up to the lookout and see Dende. As brief spoilers for the manga, if you haven't been reading it, Frieza got access to a hyperbolic time chamber somehow, though we don't know how or where, but this gave me an idea. By now, Dende would have already made the improvements to the hyperbolic time chamber, even though he didn't have to recreate it, since it obviously wasn't destroyed by Buu. Goku likely would still have asked him to improve it. So, when Cold arrives on the lookout and starts talking to Dende, he catches up with him at first. Though, he eventually gets to the point and asks Dende if he could theoretically make another hyperbolic time chamber. Dende says he doesn't know for sure, as he never tried to make a second one, but he could give it a shot. Then when he asks why, Cold would explain he was thinking about having one installed on his ship, so that he and his men could use it to train. Because of all the help Cold and Banyu have been to the Earth, I think Dende would be fine with doing this, so he does try to make a hyperbolic time chamber for Cold. This wouldn't happen, though, until after Cold either has his ship expanded, or gets a new ship built with room for one. I think he might just get a new ship built, since it has been years, or maybe even a decade now, since Cold has had his current ship built. Technology would have changed a lot since then, so it could be useful to just get a new ship made altogether. So, after it is eventually finished, he would bring Dende on board and show him where he would like the hyperbolic time chamber. We don't know if Dende is able to make a second one, but for the sake of this timeline, I believe he would be able to do so. Also, something to mention is that Cold would have started the process of terraforming other planets in his empire too, after the success he had on Vampa, which, with the agreement and help of Paragus and Broly, Vampa would be incorporated into his empire too. So, trade between them would start, with Paragus and Broly receiving supplies to build homes on the now habitable planet, while they send any resources Cold might want from the planet to him. However, unbeknownst to them, in the depths of space on a faraway planet, a godly being is now waking up after his decades-long slumber.